students at Al Khwarizmi High School, the Directorate of Marrakesh, the Regional Academy of Marrakesh Safi. Good evening all second-year baccalaureate students across Morocco, their viewers and followers. Welcome to this new video. Please, for the new followers and newcomers, if you want more videos of, the English program for second-year baccalaureate, do not, hesitate to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is displayed to you on the screen here. If you don't have the chance to, watch them on YouTube, you can also find them on my Facebook page, which is entitled English for All. So today, as you can see, we're going to work on a new video, which is going to work on, let's say, or to be about the tenses in English or English tenses in general, okay? We're going to talk about the structure and the form of all English tenses. And as you all know, the tenses is the nightmare of many, students and learners of English. A lot of people complain about, they complain about tenses being very difficult for them to understand. It's the opposite, and on the contrary, today we're going to see that they are very easy. They only need some concentration and they need some practice, okay? So today I will help you understand all of them, and we're going to start in this way. I'm sure that you are actually questions about what I'm going to actually do. I'm going to draw some very simple trees and I will try to explain and give you some, illustrations on them, okay? So as you can see here, we have different tenses, but we have three, if you want. I will not say what do they actually designate. We have three words, okay? We have the present, and the past, and the future. These three words normally, they try to actually stand for something. They try to bring something up in our mind. What is it? There is one concept which is brought up to our mind when we hear the present, the past, and the future. The concept that we're talking about here is the concept of time. So when we talk about the present, it means we're talking about the present time. And when we talk about the past, it means we're talking about the past time. When we talk about the future, it means we're talking about the future time. This is the first important thing that you have to know, and that every learner of this language should actually put in their mind. So we have the present time, the past time, and the future time. The second thing, or the second concept that we will be talking about is coming ahead. So as you can see here, when we talk about the past, and the present, and the future, and of course, in relation to tenses, all the people and all of us talk about what? This word here. We have simple. Again, here we have simple. If you want, sorry, I'll just have some space for, the coming tenses. We have again simple. We have simple. What does that mean? It means that we have the present simple, and we have the past simple, and we have the future simple. The second thing is that we also have the past continuous, and the present continuous, and the future continuous. Perfect. So we have the present continuous, the past continuous, the future continuous. So they seem to be the same. The third thing that we have here is perfect. We have the past perfect, and the present perfect, and the future perfect. Okay? So we have simple, continuous, perfect. They are, repeated from one time to another. So, what do these words, we have simple, continuous, perfect, what do these words normally designate? What do they refer to? So, these words try to reflect the second concept, which is the action in all tenses. So, we talk about the action being simple, or continuous, or perfect. That's it. So, as you can see here, we are going to start with the continuous form, and then we will come back to the simple. When we talk about the continuous form, it simply means that it's a verb plus what? ing. So the ing here is the word that actually describes this action. Or it is, if you want, as we actually call it, if you want, we can call them the tense markers. So the marker of the continuous form is ing. The marker of the continuous form is ing. And the marker of this continuous form, regardless of what time are we talking about here. So ing. Good. When we talk about the perfect tense, normally, it can be divided into two perfect forms. We have simple and continuous as well. It's the same thing here. We have simple and continuous. And here, the perfect, it's the same thing. We have simple, we have simple and continuous. So, the tree that we have here tries to actually give you a global idea about English tenses. So we have the past simple, the past continuous, and the past perfect. We have the present simple, the present continuous, and the present perfect. And we have the future simple, the future continuous, and the future perfect. So now, we're going to move to the next step, which is giving the form of each tense. Okay? We're going to work on the simple forms of all tenses. And each, if you want, tense has certain markers. Some, if you want, suffixes, which show that this tense normally, or this suffix, is actually made for this tense. We're talking about this particular tense. When we talk about the ing, for example, it is actually giving us some hints that we are talking about the continuous form. So let's have a look at the present, for example. Let's start with the present. I'm not starting with the present because it's easy or difficult, but we're going to start with the present, then we go back to the past, and then we move on forward to the future. So when we talk about the present simple, we have, verbs in general, they actually take an S in the end. And you know the rule. The S normally here has three different forms. It can be an S, like this, or it can be ES, or IES. That's it. So for example, if we have a verb like visit, it's visits. And of course, this normally rule is applied with the third person singular pronouns. When you have he, she, or it. Or when we have, for example, one particular name like John or Maria, for example. We have visits. So visit normally finishes or ends with a consonant, so it takes the S. Good. Here we have brush. When you actually want to go to bed, you brush your teeth. So we say he brushes. So we have ES. And this is because we have the SH here. That's why we have ES. I will try to explain. Here we have the consonants. And here we have the verb study. It becomes studies. We have IES. Let's go back to the first rule. Why do we actually put an S after the verb visit? Simply because the last word, the last letter is a consonant. So it's consonant plus S. Why do we actually use ES here? Simply because we have the SH here. So if we have SH or CH, or if we have S or double S, or if we have X or Z or Z in American English, it's normally plus ES. What about study? Study normally ends with Y. And the rule says that if you want to add a suffix to this rule, the Y changes into what? It changes into I plus ES. It becomes studies. But we have some exceptions. We have the word, for example, play. It ends with Y, but its form is not IES, but it's S here. Rather, it is S. Plays. Why? Simply because what comes before Y in this word is a consonant. and what comes before y here is a vowel. So if you have a verb that ends with y, and before y there is a consonant, we change y into I plus es, and it becomes studies, or cry, cries. Here we have the word or the verb play. It ends with y, but the problem is that it has a vowel before. It is preceded by a vowel. So it stays as it is, and we add s to the end of the verb, and it becomes plays, just like stay, stays. Is that clear? So this is rule number one when we talk about the present simple. So when we talk about the present simple, we add s. We have here s, es, or I, es. And of course, pronunciation is another issue that we'll be talking about in the coming videos. We have the present continuous. The present continuous is normally to be plus verb in the ing. I will try to actually write the rule once again here so that it can be clear for you. So to be in the same tense here, we have present. So it's going to be either I am or he is, are plus verb in the ing. What are you doing now? I am watching you. I am watching a video about English grammar. What is the teacher doing now? He is explaining. He is explaining. If you want a grammar lesson, okay? He is explaining. What are the students doing? They are learning. So we have the verb to be in the present plus a verb in the ing. So this is the present continuous. Now we have the present perfect. I told you we have normally two different, if you want, actions. We have the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous. When we talk about the perfect tenses, they all, share the same auxiliary. We use the auxiliary have. And here, normally in the present, it's going to be have or has. And I will come back to this auxiliary in the other tenses. So, for the present perfect simple, it's simply have or has plus what? Past participle of the verb. It's plus the past participle of the verb. It means that it's necessary for you to have a look at the past participle if you want a list of verbs. You should know them. So have or has. If we have third person singular pronouns, we can use has. He has, she has, it has, and we have a verb like do. The past participle of the verb do, we have do. Did is the past simple, and done is the past participle. That's what we mean by the past participle. Okay? The third form of the verb, and you have a list in the end of the book, and you may actually have other lists that you got from your teachers in the previous year. So we have or has plus the past participle. Here we have the present perfect continuous. The present perfect continuous. Let's have some more space here. So we have the past participle of the verb. So the present perfect continuous also starts with have or has plus what? Plus the past participle of being plus the verb in the ing. So the past participle here is not applied to the verb, it is applied to the verb to be. Have or has plus being plus the verb in the ing. For example, I have been reading a book, or she has been watching a film. I will talk about the use of all these tenses, don't worry. So as you can see here, we have the present simple, the present continuous, the present perfect simple, and the present perfect continuous. We can apply the same, if you want, categorization of tenses here to the past and the future. And they actually have some very slight changes. Instead of S, when we talk about the present simple, we can apply the same rule to the past simple. But we do not use the same suffix. we use ed. ed. So as you can see here, ed can be either d or ed or ied. So we have three different forms of this suffix. If we have a word, for example, that ends with e, like live, it's lived. I lived in this city, I don't know, since 1995, for example. So we have I lived. I lived in this country 5 years ago. So I lived, it's easy. If we have a verb that ends with a consonant, not with the letter E, with the vowel, like visit, for example, or work, it becomes visited. We use ed. Okay? If we have a word that ends with study, it's the same rule. Study, it becomes studied. So this is what we call some morphological changes. So when we talk about morphology, so the people who have already studied at university understand these things. So when we try to use the suffix here, there are certain changes that actually to which the verb is affected by, or which the verb is affected by. So we have study, studied. So the verb is affected by this change. When we add ed, y changes into I. I have already explained the rule here. It's the same thing. You can add es if the consonant, comes before y, then you change y into I. If we have a vowel, we keep the s. We keep the standard form of the verb. It's the same thing here. So this will not take much time, to explain it to you. The second thing here is that we have another category. Why? Because here we're talking about what? We're talking about regular verbs. I will write it here. When we have a verb which is regular, okay? That's the rule which we can apply to this verb. But what if the verb is irregular? Then the verb change its form. You should actually not, learn by heart, but you should use them, you should practice them. You should read them and try to use them in examples, in sentences. If we have a verb like to do, for example, we will not add ed. It's false. It changes its form. It becomes did. When we have a verb like speak, for example, you will not add ed. It's false. It becomes spoke. If you have a verb like teach, it becomes taught with A-U-G-H-T. If you have a verb like, for example, send, it becomes sent. So you should actually study all the past simple forms of the irregular verbs. And I've already given you the example of to do, did, done. So these are three, if you want, categories: the infinitive, the past, and the past participle. The past simple and the past participle. When it comes to the past continuous, what are we going to do? Here we have the present continuous. We said to be in the present. Now to be is going to be in the past. It becomes was or were plus verb in the ing. And so I was studying, or we were watching. We were watching a film at home with my, if you want, family members. So we were watching. So to be here is in the present, but in this tense here it becomes in the past. So we have past continuous, present continuous. Good. The perfect. So we have the present perfect. We used have and has in what? In the present, plus the past participle. Now, have and has are going to be used in the past. So it is had. So when we talk about the past perfect simple. It's simply had plus what? Plus the past participle. That's it. That's the past perfect simple. If we want to come up with the past perfect continuous, we use had plus been plus the verb in the ing. So what's the difference between the past perfect continuous and the present perfect continuous? It's just the auxiliary. The auxiliary here is in the present, but the auxiliary here is in the past. So as you can see here, if you try to make a comparison between the present, tense tree and the past tense tree, they are almost, the same. They are not different. It's the same thing for the future. When we talk about the future simple, we have will plus verb. When you want to talk about future time, events, then we use will plus verb. I will do something. I will go somewhere. When we talk about the future continuous, we still have the verb plus ing. But what do we have here? It's will plus be. Why? Because we have to be in the present. Here we have to be in the past. Now we're going to use to be in the future. So to be in the future plus verb in the ing. I will be doing something. I will be traveling. I will be studying. We will talk about the use. Don't worry. Try to concentrate with the structure and the form. The second video will be about the use of all these tenses. We have future perfect. So when we talk about the perfect form, we have the auxiliary have or has. In the past it's had. In the future it's going to be will have. That's it. So it's will have plus what? And of course, I will explain when do we use the future perfect simple and when do we use the future perfect continuous. So the future perfect continuous here, it's had plus been, or in the present have plus been. In the future it's will have been plus the verb in the ing form. That's it, plus the verb in the ing. Will have been doing. I will have been watching a film. I will have been studying a new, or maybe learning a new language. I will try to explain the use in the next video. Don't worry about the use. Please try to focus on the structure and form. So as you can see, these are, if you want, some trees. We have three different trees that you can use. If you want, you can actually limit them here. Okay? And you have another one here. You can limit it here. Okay? So here we have the present, that's number 1. And here you have the past, that's number 2. And here you have the future, that's number 3. So I hope that I actually have been successful, in explaining and illustrating these 3 tenses. And I hope that you have actually reached the objective, which is remembering the structure and the form. That's it, and nothing more. When we talk about the use, you will understand, the use of each of these tenses. And I will actually give you, the use in the same form with some trees. Okay? So try to memorize this tree and try to copy it down in your copybook or your notebook in your way so that you can actually memorize it. Thank you so much for following me in this video. Please, if you want more videos, don't hesitate to actually subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is displayed to you on the screen here. or log it into my Facebook page, which is entitled English for All. Thank you so much for your time and see you in another video. Goodbye.